Everybody, what's going on? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about Deion Sanders. Earlier today, I was with my homeboy JeffLightsyJr. from Ball Sports, and we were talking about Deion. That all the media reports were basically saying that Deion was going to leave Jackson State and go to Colorado. And there were so many reports, and they were all so consistent that there appeared to be a lot of truth to it. Well, Deion has officially confirmed. He's confirmed that he's out of there. His HBCU days are done, at least in that regard. He's going to be a Colorado. Are they the Rockies? Not the Rockies. What is
Buffaloes?
Buffaloes. Yeah, I get them mixed up. So he's going to be a Colorado Buffalo, and it's all about the money. They're going to pay him about $5 million. So Deion Sanders is out of there. And Jeff Lightsy Jr. From Ball Sports, one of the best journalists on this planet, especially when it comes to our schools and in our community, he was there. Jeff, you were there and you saw the reaction. I was really curious to know, can you summarize the reaction of Jackson State fans and players to the announcement that Deion Sanders was leaving? Were they happy for him? Were they a little pissed off? A little bit of everything? What do you think?
They were. It wasn't that they were pissed off. They were more so disappointed. It just taking a pulse of, and I spoke to a ton of people down at the tailgate. First of all, Jackson State tailgate's the best tailgate I've ever been to. That was the best sporting event I've ever been to, and I've been to a whole lot of them. That was the best sporting event I've ever been to. The tailgate was awesome, and that's where I got to talk to most of the people because during the game I was on the field away from people, whatever. But they were more so disappointed because they felt used, right? Deion Sanders couldn't get a job in college football before Jackson State. It's not like he didn't want one. It's not like he didn't interview for others. He just couldn't get one. He had no coaching resume, period, as a head coach, period. So Jackson State gave him an opportunity, and in that opportunity, he could have took it and said, we're going to be the best daggone football team that we're going to be. We're going to win a bunch of games. We're going to dominate, and we're going to send people to the next level. And all of that would have been true because he's been able to do that. But that's not just what he said. He said, God called me. He said, I'm supposed to be here to level the playing field. He used those words and he tugged on these people's emotions. And so therefore, they got emotionally attached. And when you get emotionally attached to something, they're already emotionally attached to JSU. That's the thing. And I want to make this clear, specifically about Jackson State. Their fans going to love their football team and show up to their games no matter what, no matter if it's Deion or Boyce Watkins is their head coach. It doesn't matter. They were going to show up. They led all of the FCS, which is the division that they're in. They've led FCS in attendance forever, right? Like they've always led the FCS. That was before Deion. That's going to continue even after he's gone. But when you tug on, so they're emotionally attached to their football team already. And then when you use religion and you talk about leveling the playing field and talk about all these things that you are going to do and want to continue to do for a long time for your people. He kept using my people, my people, my people in all of his speeches when he took the job and since he's had the job. And then to leave your people, not for money, because you say it's not for money, but just to elevate. That was the word he used. He put out a 9-minute video that said, in this game of coaching, you either elevate or get terminated. Well, when you first came to Jackson, and since you've been at Jackson, it's all about elevating Jackson and being a place where it is now elevated and being that top type of team. But now you need to leave Jackson to be elevated. See, that's why words are powerful, and people don't forget what you say. You get what I'm saying? Like people don't forget what you say, and that's how the folks felt before he put out the 9-minute video, and after they're gonna feel validated. And so when a guy like Eddie Robinson Jr. says you ain't swag, and the folks that agree with him, this is what they're talking about. They always, and the thing was, it's not that JSU fans didn't expect Deion Sanders to stay there forever. No, they didn't expect that. But they expected more from him. And if you're going to leave, don't leave for a place like Colorado, and don't tell us God called you here, and then in that 9-minute video say God called you to move on. It's not the same. It's not the same. He said a lot of things in that 9-minute video that he posted that bothered me. Another one that he said that bothered me was he brought up the fact that at the FBS level, which is where Colorado Power 5 level, there's been a few black coaches that have been fired, and none of them essentially have been replaced with other black coaches except for him, right? Because the coach at Colorado before Deion was black, he got fired and he's being replaced by Deion who's black. And he said, I can make a change there because I can elevate. No, you can't. No, you can't. That's not the business of college football about making change. You know where else they're trying to make changes with black coaches? The freaking NFL. If they can't make changes in the NFL and hire more black coaches, what the hell you think I hate to say it like this, but what do you think you're going to be able to do? No, because guess what? If you start losing, if you go to Colorado and get to losing, they're going to fire your black ass too. They're going to fire you too. So, no, you're not going to make no change there. All you're going to be able to do, go and collect wins, and I hope you have success. But you're not making no change at that level. That's not how the game is played at that level. So,
wow. Well, everybody, we're talking about Deion Sanders. He officially announced that he's leaving Jackson State to go to Colorado. As you come in, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is a Black-owned platform, and our goal is to reach as many of our people as we possibly can. I'm speaking with JeffLightsyJr. from the Black Boss channel. Everybody, as you come in, I want to ask y'all a question. Give me a yes or no question. I'd like to know, do you agree with Deion Sanders making this move? Give me a yes if you think that this is the right move for him. Give me a no if you think that this was a problem. This could be a betrayal. This was not cool. Give me a yes or no. I'd be really curious because I'm actually going to do a poll with y'all on the platform. Okay, I see Daryl says no. Andre says no. Somebody says, what the hell? He has enough money. I can't. Something. Marquis says yes. TP says no. I'm seeing a lot of no's. Boulder, Colorado is 1.7% culture compared to Jackson, Mississippi. That's around 80%, says Pac-Man. Tommy George says no. Shaquille Sunflower says yes. M. Williams says no, I don't. David Jones says no. Max Jerome actually sent me the flyer showing that Deion is officially a Colorado Buffalo. Yeah, I keep wanting to say a Colorado Rocky. Then I'm like, what's
That's the baseball team.
Yeah. I know. I totally know it. Right. And I never think about Colorado like that. Right. So it's just it's like nobody cares that much about Colorado. Now, I'm sure Prime will make people care about Colorado. Prime carries his own energy, his own presence, his own swag. And that's what people love about him. And he actually put out this or somebody put out this post. So I guess Colorado
put that out. The university put that out.
Yes, it's they're now, they're advertising their latest employee, because that's what he is. He has no ownership stake in any of this. This is he's an employee of the school. Now, Jackson State, he was an employee, but one of the things that's really important to understand is that there's a difference between bringing your weight and lifting a Black-owned institution versus bringing your weight and lifting a white-owned institution, right? So at Jackson State, even though he was still technically an employee, he had a lot of equity in the process, in the sense that as you're building Jackson State, you're building yourself. As you're building Jackson State, you're building your community. As you're building Jackson State, you're building your people. At Colorado, you ain't building your community. At Colorado, you're not building your people. At Colorado, there ain't nothing black about the who runs the University of Colorado. So that's the part that I think makes people feel a little bit betrayed, Jeff, because it's like, I get it. The white boys got all the money. We know this. That's why they get the best athletes and everything else. They get the best of our athletes. We don't get the best of nothing from them. There's no commodity in sports, entertainment, or any other place. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Let me know in the chat. There's no commodity. Name one commodity that we get from white people that causes their wealth to go down. Like, seriously, what multi-billion-dollar commodity do we extract regularly every year from white people that makes their wealth go down and our wealth go up? I'll wait. Name one multi-billion-dollar commodity that we extract from Jewish people every year that makes their wealth go down and our wealth go up. Name one multi-billion-dollar commodity that black people extract from Asian people that makes their wealth go down, that they give away to us freely, that makes our wealth go up. I'll wait. I'm waiting. Can y'all give me an answer? There's no answer to that. So, but yet we're the only ones who will say, oh man, Go get your money, bro. Go get your money. And we don't think about nothing else except one man getting his money and the rest of the community sitting there just like, what the hell? You know, those players, you know, they love this guy. They wanted him to say, you know, you had a community that rallied around this school, you know, got excited, you know, and it's just sad. It's like, I get it, right? It's like, well, you know that he could do whatever he wants, and I understand that. But in a way, it does remind you of a bad relationship where, you know, one person, it's you whisper all the sweet nothings in a woman's ear, and you tell her, babe, we're gonna get married and have kids, and we're gonna be a happy family, and then one day you just like, well, you know, I met a white woman in the suburbs, and she's got lots of money, so I'm gonna go. So tell the kids that I had to leave, and they'll understand because I mean I got to go get my money, and you know that's how I think that's how people are feeling. I mean, what do you think?
Absolutely. And it's not just people, it's not just the community. Dr. Boyce, this is his own family. From what I've understood, if you watch the game, there was one person that didn't play or didn't. I didn't even see him in the building, and that was his son Shiloh Sanders. And from what the intel that I was able to gather while I was there, Shiloh's upset. Shiloh, from what I understand, and this is just from the people that I talked to because I was there, but Shiloh has been invested in the city of Jackson and in this school. One thing that's big at JSU is their band, the Sonic Boom of the South. It's one of the most known, well-respected bands in the entire world, not just the country. And one thing that stands out about them is their drum major is called the J5. Well, Shiloh, ever since he's been at Jackson State, has been like obsessed with the J5 and literally like goes to practice with them and got a drum major mace, and they officially made him the J6 member, right? Like they made a J6 to ingratiate him into the culture. And so when he got the news essentially that his father was moving on to Colorado or however they broke that down, apparently him and CoachPrime, his own dad, kind of butted heads. And so much so that I didn't see Shiloh at all today. Like I didn't see him. I mean, if somebody in the chat, if you were at the game or watched the game, did you see number 21 for Jackson State play at all? Because I didn't. And that's his own.
The Shiloh, so he typically plays like he's
the starting safety. He's the starting safety.
So the starting safety didn't play and wasn't. You didn't see him on the sidelines.
I didn't see him in the. I didn't see him in the building. I mean, and that's not to say he wasn't there. I just didn't see him, and I didn't see. He damn sure went on the field. I know that. I know he wasn't. I know he didn't play. That I do know, but I didn't see him in the building. And from what I understand, he told his dad. From what I understand, and I don't know. This is not me. This is what I'm hearing, that he's not going to Colorado. That he wants to stay at Jackson State. And so that tells you, and if that's true, that tells you how deep this is. That people are hurt behind this, so much so that it's hurting his own family.
Wow, man, that's heavy. I don't know if any media outlets are going to be reporting that. I mean, that's impressive that you were down there kind of getting this information, and I hope it's not the case, but thanks for sharing that. I'm not surprised by any of it. You know, I mean, I think this is heavy. This is deeper than just like, oh yeah, go get the money. You know, I mean, you can't tell me that the only value HBCUs have is how much money they have. You know, they have so much wealth, so much value that goes outside of the financial. And when you just focus on the money, you're letting go of all the cultural value, all the value of educating young Black minds, like the importance of that. You know, you're not building a Black institution anymore. You're building the University of Colorado, which really doesn't need Black people for them to grow. So let me ask you this, man. So you've been following HBCU sports really closely, and Jackson State especially. Jeff, so did Deion, did he make his intentions known? Like when they were asking him all throughout the year, like, hey, are you ever going to leave? Did he say like, yeah, you know, I could go, I am going to go and look for some other jobs? I mean, how did that conversation go?
So in full transparency, he's always said he would entertain other offers. That was just like that. It just what it is. What it is. He never made any bones about not entertaining the offers. He never just said he's going to jump on the first one that pops up, though. And the reason why it made sense for him to entertain the offers just so Jackson State wouldn't sit on their hands and feel complacent about having Deion Sanders as their head coach and just assume that he's going to be there forever. So him entertaining offers, that made sense, right? Like that made sense. But what people need to realize is that Jackson State, like, although Deion Sanders helped elevate HBCUs and help elevate Jackson State and help bring them to a place that maybe they weren't before, or that they weren't before. I mean, let's just be honest. But Jackson State helped Deion Sanders a whole lot too. Like, this wasn't just a one-way street. This was a two-way street. What Jackson State did for Deion Sanders was they made him a commodity in the coaching ranks, right? Like, these schools may have had Deion Sanders on their campus to talk to players, to give a motivational speech, to just to say he's hanging out on campus. But none of these schools wanted him to become their head coach until he got to Jackson State. The only school that gave Deion Sanders a shot as a head coach in college football was Jackson State. They're the first and the only, until he proved his worth at JSU and used it as a stepping stone. And that's what hurt the most. Because here's the thing. And like I said, that's why it goes back to the words that he preached, the words that he said, the use of religion. All of that matters because these people really believed any and everything he said, right? And when you hang on a man's words that heavy, you're bound to be disappointed because he is human at the end of the day. But at the same time, him being the figure that he is, it looks like he used them and he got what he wanted out of the relationship, used it and tossed him to the side at the first chance he got. First chance he got, because nobody was really checking for him after last year. They had a good season last year, but it's like, okay, you did that great. Can you do it again? And then he goes and grabs the number one player in the country, and then they have an undefeated season. Oh, okay, you did it again. You proved your worth at Jackson State, at a little brother. Now it's time to, using his words, elevate. And elevate to a place like Colorado, or elevate to a place like Colorado. That stings, man. That stings. Because if Coach Prime, if Deion Sanders, if he leaves and goes to an SEC school, understandable. To a school with a rich tradition of Florida State, a school that wins a lot of games, or that has a history of winning over the last, 3 decades, makes sense. But to leave Jackson State for a school that's had 4 winning, I mean, we read it earlier, 4 winning records, 4 winning seasons in the last, 25 years, since 95, since the year I was born. That's not elevation to me, man. That's just not. It's just not.
Wow. Everybody, I'm speaking with Jeff Lightsy Jr. from Ball Sports about Deion Sanders officially announcing that he is heading to University of Colorado. I want everybody to take a second, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. I also want to warn everybody that sometimes in the chat, we'll have some fake Boyce Watkins is in here that'll try to get you to connect with them on WhatsApp and your inbox and all that. So don't fall for that nonsense. I don't want you to get hurt. Also, I'm asking everybody to follow Jeff. His Twitter and Instagram handle is JLightsy7. It's right here. He's one of the best on earth when it comes to covering sports and HBCU sports in particular. And so follow him. You know, there's some great conversations that happen. Also, last but not least, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, Sunday night, my wife and I begin our Black Family Wealth training that we start. It's a 4-week training where we basically go through it's the first offering of our new Black Financial Therapy Department in the Black Business School. And we are going to work with therapists and financial experts to unlock the barriers to building Black wealth in families. So if you'd like to join that, just go to boycewatkins.com. You can actually join and even get a discount on the training if you want to. All the materials are yours for life. We're doing deep dive slides on all different factors that affect our families as it pertains to wealth. And this is the key to helping your family to grow your wealth and your economic strength and things like that. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com if you'd like to join us. We start Sunday night. All right. So let me throw out a theory, Jeff. Here's a theory I have. This is a prediction. You can record this and play it 3 years from now to see if I'm right. Deion Sanders will not stay at Colorado very long. Deion's not going to. Deion Sanders, my instincts, my spidey senses are telling me that he kind of has an objective. If you look at his career, he's always wanted to be, as in his words, that dude. He says all the time, when you that dude, you know, he's always wanted to be that dude, and he has been that dude. I mean, he's, you know, I followed him since he was young. The man can play some football. He was great. And he's always been a winner and a leader and everything else. And I can't see him stopping until he's at the top of the coaching game, the same way he was at the top of his game as an athlete. So I think Colorado is another stepping stone for him, just like Jackson State was. So one of two things is going to happen to Deion in the next 3 years. Either he's going to get rehired somewhere else, or he's going to get fired from Colorado. One of the two. It's one or the other. It's not. There won't be like, okay, he's going to become a great coach at Colorado and stay there 10, 15 years. I don't think he's going to do that. I think it's going to be like either it's upward or bust. So either he goes there and does amazing things there, which he very much could do that because he's shown himself to be a great coach. And then some, bigger school comes along, maybe Florida State, maybe Alabama or something. Who knows? I don't know. Offers him a job, and then he goes and he elevates. Or he's going to fail miserably, and a whole bunch of people will sit back and say, "I told you so," and he'll end up getting fired. What do you think about that theory, Jeff? There was any holes in that?
I think there's a lot of truth to that, and here's the thing: there's no doubt in my mind he's not going to be at Colorado very long. Colorado's clearly a stepping stone job, but the thing is, and here's the thing: when he has his press conference being introduced as the next head coach at Colorado, he won't use the same verbiage to tug on the heartstrings of the people at Colorado because they're not going to believe it. And quite frankly, they don't give a damn, right? They don't care about what your religious preferences are. They don't care about what church you go to. They don't care about, what God you worship. They don't care about this stuff. All they care about is, can you win football games? That's it. At the end of the point blank period, it starts and ends with, can you win football games? Period. That's it. Can you go out and recruit the players just like you were at Jackson State? Even actually recruit better players than you were at Jackson State, but recruit to like how you were recruiting at a supernova level as far as for an HBCU. Can you recruit at a supernova level as far as when it comes to Colorado? And can you go out there and win football games? Because the folks at Colorado, they're not black. As far as the student body, the state, the city, Boulder, they're not black people. So you can't kind of finesse them essentially how you did black folks down at Jackson or black folks in the HBCU space, right? Like, because all of that hoopla and dancing and all, they don't give a shit about it. I mean, they don't care about that stuff. They don't care about Snoop Dogg being on the sideline. They don't care about that kind of stuff. We do. That stuff entertains us, right? That stuff gets us hyped. That stuff looks cool to us. That same swag, bravado. They don't care. All they care, because guess what? If you have all of that, and you ain't winning football games, that stuff then becomes a distraction. That stuff needs to get up out the way. That stuff gets you a call from a booster, right? Like a booster that's paying, $2-3 million a year, and Colorado's still winning 2-3 games a year. And yeah, we didn't bring Deion Sanders to come here and win 2, 3, 4 games a year, what we've been averaging over the last 3 decades, right? We brought Deion Sanders here to bring in top players and to win top games. And if you don't do that, all that other stuff don't matter. Whereas at JSU, you won games and you had the swag and you had the city backing you up and you had the blackness and you had the culture. Everybody was rooting for you at JSU. Will everybody be rooting for you at Colorado? Absolutely not.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. One of the things that makes me sad about this, and I want to reiterate that I think Deion has a right to do whatever he wants to do.
Absolutely.
And I don't wish ill on him. I want to see him do well. I like it more than I just. It's like we love you, but this ain't the right move for a lot of us. I will say us because I'm in the camp that disagrees with it. I'm going to speculate on this perception that I think is probably a false perception that Deion has just so much money and so much wealth that the money isn't the motivation for him to take one job over the other. I think this idea that he's just sitting on millions on top of millions of dollars and that he doesn't care about the difference between a $5 million job and a $1 million a year job, I think that's false. I think that there's probably something beneath the surface where, he probably had to explain to his son a little bit like, look, man, I kind of need this money to maintain the shine on primetime. Maybe he's got some bills to pay or whatever. And I think that's one part of it that's like, and maybe that was a myth that people fed themselves. Because truth be told, if you really are that dude financially, like if you really are on top of your money financially, there's certain seats you take that people can't buy you out of those seats. The only reason he's going to Colorado for the most part is one, because of the money. And then I thought about it, and maybe there's a little bit of like that level up factor. Like I want to be in big time college football, so I'm leveling up but still, you're at an HBCU. You're around the best culture in the world, the best people in the world. These are your people. This is your chance to build something in your community. So I think I'm going to tell you, I think that there's probably something going on in terms of him needing money that led him to say, look, I can't pass up $5 million a year. And what do you think?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a take I didn't think of. The reason why I would now here's the thing. I'm not saying $5 million a year or that can grow potentially if you hit the incentives to $7 million a year. That's a lot of money. I can't act like it isn't. And just from football, because he's still Deion Sanders, he still can make a ton of money outside of football as far as his endorsements. Those endorsements aren't going away. You know what I mean? Like, just because he's leaving from Jackson State to Colorado, he's still Deion Sanders, Pro Football Hall of Famer, College Football Hall of Famer, played in 2 sports, played in the Super Bowl and the World Series. Like, that stuff, like, that's in his back pocket. Like, that never goes away. But the reason why I'll push back on it some, because I know, like I said, those off the field things have exploded since he's been at Jackson State. That's not to say he didn't have endorsements before Jackson State. That's like, obviously he did. He's been having endorsements since the 80s, right? But since he's been at Jackson State, I spoke about this earlier, his endorsements, his visibility has skyrocketed even for Deion Sanders. Like, think about this, because the one thing you can say, Deion Sanders was that dude, but he played in the 80s, right? The 80s, the 90s, and by the 2000s, he was out of football. Now, he was on TV and he did the Under Armour thing, and so he was still visible, to a certain aspect. And then he coached his son's high school teams. But when he became Jackson State, his visibility went back to as if he was in the 90s again, with the advantation of social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Oh yeah, now we see Deion Sanders more than any college football coach in the world. But it's specified because he's at Jackson State. That same visibility is not going to be given to him at Colorado. Why was he so visible at Jackson State? It's because he was at Jackson State. Because in white America's mind, they couldn't fathom why a superstar in white America would go help out a historically black college. They can't play for a college football playoff. They can't play in the Rose Bowl. They can't play in the Sugar Bowl, right? These big corporate FBS conferences. So why would this guy, who's a college football Hall of Famer, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, regarded as one of the best athletes to ever walk the planet, go use his star power and his knowledge and his wisdom and his business savviness to help out the black school, right? It was just so flabbergasting to people. Like, it just didn't make any sense.
And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Nobody will be asking that question if he was a Jewish man going to help the Jewish school. Nobody would ask that question if he was a Chinese man that wanted to go and do something good for China. That's how China became wealthy. They told their people, we don't give a damn what you go do for other people. We want to know what you're doing for China. If you have the ability to get wealth, go bring that wealth to China. If you have special scientific skill, bring that scientific skill to China. We don't care that you go to the United States and you work for Harvard University. We want you in China, because that's how China will get stronger, is if our best and brightest invest in China. So the question that I would ask anybody who's listening, who just says, okay, he should go chase the money. And I hear you. I get it. That's how we were raised. We were raised, go get the money, go get that white man's money, no matter what. I need you to understand, though, that when you're always chasing the money, you're basically chasing the white man. That's what you're chasing, because who's got all the money in this country? White men. White men control 99% of the wealth. You have less than 0.5% of all the wealth in this country. They got over 99% of it. So if you are just a person who thinks in that simple-minded way that just says, go get the money, go get the money, go get the money, go get the money, then you might as well just say, follow the white man, follow the white man, follow the white man, follow the white man, because he's going to basically take that money, he's going to dangle in front of you like a little carrot, and you're going to lose focus on everything. You're going to lose focus on your family. You're going to lose focus on your women. You're going to lose focus on your community. You're going to lose focus on your kids. You're going to lose focus on all those other things that matter, because you just chase around the money. I got to go get the money. I got to get the money. So my question is, these institutions in America that exist that are very powerful, they have all this money. Colorado has an endowment of over $2 billion. They didn't get that endowment, by begging. They didn't get that endowment by just waiting around and waiting for Jesus to come and deliver money. They got that endowment because somebody made an investment in that institution. There were people at that institution who could have taken their money and taken their wealth and their opportunities and gone somewhere else. But for some reason, for whatever reason, somebody said, I love this institution. I'm going to make an investment in this institution. So I ask you this question, Black people, everybody who says I'm a hater or whatever, who's investing in your HBCUs? Who has wealth and power that's truly investing in your, who just says, you know what? I know I could get more if I go over here. I know that there's shiny objects over there, but I'm going to invest and make a sacrifice for the future. And if you can't answer that question, that explains exactly why your institutions are dying and their institutions are thriving. White people are always going to win because they get the best of their talent and they get the best of your talent. They get all their resources and they get all your resources. They think about this. This is a pasty white school. Ain't nothing cool about University of Colorado. I'm sorry.
Nothing.
Ain't nothing cool about University of Colorado. And they could be like, oh, well, we got swag. We could buy our swag. We just bought us a swaggy Negro that's going to represent our school to the world. And because Negroes come cheap, we can just write a check that ain't nothing to us. Ain't nothing but a thing to us to write a $5 million check. And we will steal your best and brightest. And I'm just trying, and it's kind of interesting because at some point the question becomes, what do we actually have that isn't for sale? You know, you got BET controlling your culture, and that's owned by white people. Like, what do you have that's not for sale? Jewish people have lots of things that you can't buy. Go to a Jewish neighborhood and try to buy up all the property in the Jewish neighborhood. I want y'all to go do that. Anybody want to do that test? What do you think would happen if you went to a Jewish neighborhood? And well, they run entire city blocks that belong to them. They got that shit on lock. And go in there and just try to buy one little piece of property in that space. And I want you to offer 3 times the value of that property. I want you to offer, if it's worth $500,000, I want you to offer 1.5. And watch how quickly they tell your black ass to kick rocks and get out. So they're not gonna sell it to you for nothing. They're like, no, there's no price you can pay that will give you the right to even be in our neighborhood. So what I'm saying to you overall, Black people, is that I'm trying to figure out what's your standard. Is your standard simply, okay, well, take the most money, you go do it, whatever, or do you have a different standard that somebody else can't buy? Because if you don't think about these things, then you're always going to be for sale. People will always be able to manipulate you with their dollar bill. I say this as a person who understands money, respects money, and I know the power of money. And money is a hell of a drug. Jeff, it's a hell of a drug. And by the way, so Jeff, I want to get your thoughts on what I just said. But before I do that, I'd like to ask everybody, could you please hit the thumbs up button? Thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Also, I'm speaking with Jeff Lightsy Jr. from Ball Sports. I'm going to put Jeff's information up here. Also, I want to remind everybody, this podcast is on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcast and look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, you can find the podcast there so you can listen while you're in your car, stuff like that. All right, so Jeff, I know I just said a lot, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on.
Yeah, Doc, I'm gonna throw something at you really quick. So here is also, because we talked about, you said you don't think he'll be at Colorado very long. Here's also, because I do think Deion Sanders is a very smart man. Let me put that out there. He's a very, very smart man, and a lot of times he's playing chess when folks are playing checkers. For example, like one of the things they told us today was, like, obviously, like, he came out and said, yeah, I hadn't told the team, nobody on the team. Everybody knew that you were going to Colorado. Hell, the big reason why it leaked, because this apparently the deal was done 2 weeks ago. I heard someone said they knew about it 2 weeks ago. Like, once again, this is me being in the stadium. They knew about it 2 weeks ago. Another really close person to the school said that they got the call that it was happening on Thanksgiving, and they lost their appetite. They couldn't even eat no more turkey because they knew their coach was leaving them. So that was another thing. But one thing I want to tell you, and also his office was cleared today. There was nothing in his office. It was already packed up, loaded to go. And he had a whole lot of stuff in his office, by the way. But there's another thing I want to think to you. It tossed at you, and this is something, and I want to get your perspective on this. You come to the consensus you don't think he'll be at Colorado long. He'll either get fired or he'll elevate. And say, let's use the fired scenario. If he gets fired from Colorado after 3-4 years, whatever, somebody in the HBCU space will take a chance on him again. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think is that a good thing? Like, is that a bad thing? Like, because he could very much well end up back at Jackson State or at Alcorn or at some other HBCU. and be able to possibly, now maybe not, maybe they still have hard feelings, but possibly recreate this thing and turn it up again. What are your thoughts on it? I'm just curious on how you feel, because that's something that's been going through my mind.
Well, I think that it comes from the fact that we're trained to believe that white people are just better than us. That, that the reason that you do anything in the Black community is because white people don't want you. And this idea, this belief, this false belief, it doesn't just go into sports. It goes into everything. Think about it. How many of y'all have started a Black-owned business and your relatives feel sorry for you? They're like, oh, well, don't worry. You'll get a job at some point. They think you started your business because you couldn't get a white man to hire you. Like, seriously, that's what we think. Like, well, you couldn't get on at UPS or FedEx, so that's why you got that little business of yours. I'm like, nah, Negro, you go back to your little job. How about that? You go back to your little job. You 45 years old, gotta ask permission to go to the bathroom. I get to see what I want, right? So you go back to your little job. Like, seriously, I mean, it's crazy to me. But that's how we think. We literally think that the reason that you do things that are independent and Black is because white people won't accept you. I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, wow, that podcast, you got over 1 million subscribers on different channels. One day you'll be on TV. And I'm like, what makes you think I want to be on TV? I've been on TV. I've been on national TV hundreds of times. I don't want to be mainstream. Why would I want to go from the premium spot to the subordinated spot? Why would I want to go from being a free man to being a slave? And so it's kind of interesting, like we do stuff with the Black Business School. And when I first got started doing that, people thought that I was only doing the Black Business School, teaching Black people as a way to hold myself over until I could get a white university to hire me. And I'm like, no, I did that. I was on the faculty at Syracuse University for 13 years. I know about that world. Now I'm in a better world. Now I'm doing work that actually matters. Now I'm pouring into the people that matter. Instead of building Syracuse University, I'm building the Black Business School, which is one of the best HBCUs in the country. Because we have trained millions, documented millions of Black people on how to build wealth. What's a more important job that I could be doing on this planet than that? So my point. So I'll say this, man, Harvard University could not buy me out of this seat. They could literally come in and say, we're going to write you a $10 zillion check. I don't even know how much a zillion is. And I'll be like, thank you, but no thank you. I'm not interested. There's nothing about being in that world with those people, surrounded by people who look down on me, that in any way is going to make me feel more validated as a human being. Nothing. And we are trained to believe that when you get like sort of signed off by them, or when they recognize you, that's somehow a status symbol. That ain't no damn status symbol. That's a stressor, man. Like they're not better than you. The white people are not smarter than you. Stop believing that. There's nothing about being at Colorado, in my view, that makes Deion Sanders any more relevant than he was at Jackson State. At Jackson State, he was special. He's this guy who went and kicked ass in the NFL and then came back home and poured it into the community and is taking a school that was mediocre for the most part and putting them on the map. You the king of that. You the king of Wakanda, and you done left that so you could be a general manager at McDonald's. Like, really, you just now. No disrespect to Deion. I'm sorry, but I gotta say it. Now you're not special anymore. Now you're just another Black coach, big white university. They already have plenty of Black employees. That's the honest to God truth. There's nothing that represents kingdom building by going to Colorado to me. That's not your empire. That is owned lock, stock, and barrel by somebody else. Jackson State is owned by us for the most part, right? Except for the government. But for the most part, like, we take equity in our HBCUs. We ain't got no equity in the University of Colorado.
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. And that's the thing, man. Like, I was out there today and I met people that were Jackson State alums and that have loved that school from the 70s up until now. Talking about babies with JSU gear. You're talking about folks that graduated from the school in the 70s to babies wearing the gear, and they're all rooting for the same thing: the success of the school, the success of the city, the success of Deion, the success of Coach Prime. And like you said, the aura of Deion will never go away. He like, we can't change the past. He did what he did, and he did that. He worked hard. He could have been lazy. Like, he was gifted. Don't get me wrong. He was gifted, but he worked damn hard to be the athlete and to play those two sports at that high of a level and to go on to be one of the greatest athletes ever. But he poured back into the whole thing. Is it proves a lot of people right. When he first took the job, a lot of people felt like, one, it was a stepping stone, and two, he was being disingenuous, right? And so much so, Eddie Robinson came out and said it, and said he ain't swag, essentially saying in so many words that this dude came into this, and he's like gentrification almost. Like, he came and gentrified it up, got some money or whatever, but he's not going to be here forever. Like, I'm going to be here for the long run. These other folks, y'all at Jackson, are going to be there for the long run. He's not. That's essentially what Eddie Robinson was saying. And folks like me, foolishly or not foolishly, whatever, I defended him. I said, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think we could get 4 or 5 years out of him. And 4 or 5 years out of Deion Sanders is a good run. I didn't think it'd be 2. I didn't think it would be 2. Now, 2, you kind of proven dude right. Now,
that's like a hit it and quit it.
And then how do you explain to those kids, those parents, that you told? Because think about it, those kids came to Jackson State to play for Deion Sanders, not at Colorado. They came to play for Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Travis Hunter, for an example, the #1 player in the country that chose Jackson State over Florida State, over Alabama, over Georgia, over pick your favorite school. He had every offer in the world. He chose, and he wrote a poetic letter when he chose Jackson State and said, I want to be like Coach Prime and help change the narrative of HBCUs across the country. I want to be a part of that change. And now his coach is leaving. And now his coach is leaving. You have to feel a certain kind of way about that. Like, you have to, naturally. That's why it's so disappointing.
Well, let me ask this, Jeff. So you were at the game and you talked to a lot of these alumni who've been cheering for Jackson State for 30, 40, 50 years. How did they feel generally? Like, what was the general sentiment amongst just the real heavy Jackson State loyalists? Like, was there a lot of room for forgiveness for Coach Prime, or was the sentiment generally negative?
There's forgiveness for Coach Prime, because the thing about JSU folks, and that's why I loved being here so much, is that they're like, man, we're gonna be fine. Their whole thing was, I was here before Prime, through all the good and the bad before Prime. I'm gonna be here long after Prime, and I always expected to be here long after Prime. And so, yeah, we're thankful for what he did. We're thankful for him shining the light. It's just that nothing changed for them. Nothing changes, because they always knew who they were. They always knew what they had. They knew that they had a diamond in the rough. Deion Sanders just shined a light on it, right? They knew that they had a stadium that could seat 60,000. They knew that they led the country as far as FCS in attendance every year. They knew that they have school spirit. They had Dr. Boyce. I don't know if you've ever been to an HBCU tailgate, but there was 300 RVs, 200 golf carts, 400 grills, 30, 50 DJs, right? Like another 200 speakers. Like, it was insane. It was literally insane. 90 vendors, right, selling JSU, Southern gear, HBCU gear. It was the best sporting event I've ever been to in my life. And what they told me because of the bad news, they said they've had crowds way bigger than that. That wasn't the biggest crowd they had this year. The reason why the crowd was massive. The crowd wasn't like that because of the bad news. They knew that, and so certain folks who typically come out just didn't come out this time. So it's like they're like, we're gonna be fine. And one thing I will say about Jackson State specifically, and we can credit Coach Prime to this. The SWAC is in a better place as far as the conference, and HBCU sports and HBCUs period are in a better place, and partially due to, for a big part, due to Deion Sanders. And so therefore you have bigger name coaches Hope there's 3 openings in the SWAC right now. Hopefully you get some really, really good football minds, football coaches to come in and fill those vacancies, including the one at Jackson State. And I will say this about Jackson State's leadership, Ashley Robinson. He's the one that had the fortitude and the willingness to give Deion Sanders a chance. And it paid off. He is a home run. He hit it out the park. I think this guy's smart enough to get another home run higher. He was smart enough to take the chance on Prime. I don't know what directions he's headed, but from the people I talked to there at the stadium, they're like, oh no, he's a proactive guy, not a reactive guy. So therefore, he's been cooking this up. He knew this was coming. Like I said, guys at the stadium knew it was happening 2 weeks ago. So that means Ashley Robinson if they knew 2 weeks ago, he's probably been knowing for a while. So he's a proactive guy. He's been on top of it. And from what I understand, they're going to have another really, really good head coach to follow Deion Sanders there at JSU.
All right. Well, everybody who just came in, I'm here with Jeff Lightsy Jr. from Ball Sports, and we're talking about we're asking whether or not Deion Sanders betrayed Jackson State. Deion just made the announcement that he's leaving Jackson State to head to Colorado, and there's a big debate going on as to whether or not he owed Jackson State anything. He went and got more money, and that's it's his right to do that. And also, I'd like to remind everybody, we believe in teaching wealth to children. And Christmas is coming, and a great way to use this as an opportunity to build up your family is to take a look at some of the tools that are out there to teach wealth to your kids early. Black wealth is really important. It's important that we build Black wealth and build Black institutions. So we partner with some experts from our community to create financial flashcards that you and your kids can work through. I guarantee you it will make a difference in their wealth level. You guys know I'm a finance professor, and you can go to financialflashcards.com if you'd like to order a discounted bundle pack or order a few to give them away as Christmas gifts to the kids and your family. I'll leave that URL on the screen. Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, a reminder, this podcast is on Spotify and Apple under the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. And I'll also put Jeff Lightsy's contact information up here so you can follow him. So, Jeff, since we're vibing into this conversation, and by the way, at any point, I know you've had a long day. You can just say, "Hey,
I'm good to go. I'm good
okay,
to go.
great,
rejuvenated."
Yeah, I'm having a blast too. I'm having a lot of fun here. So here's one of the things I was thinking about as you were speaking. You made a great point. I think that there is a way to look at this to say Jackson State is definitely better off than they would have been had CoachPrime never stopped by. It sounds to me like their athletic director is smart. The university is making good choices. The job is now more appealing because Prime was sat in that seat. And I really hope that they can actually get the money they need to be able to get a good coach and keep him. I think that's the thing that really sucks is to see scenarios where it's always going to be a hit it and quit it. That there's not going to be a long-term relationship. They're always good enough to be the side chick or the girlfriend, but never good enough to be the wife, so to speak. And so one of the things I was thinking about, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. And actually, while you talk, I'm actually going to step up and run to the bathroom real quick. But here's what I was thinking about, right? This is something that I noticed, especially when celebrities, Black celebrities who've been accepted by white people, right? Usually rappers and athletes, they get sucked away from the community to go and play in a professional league or to make albums or whatever. And then every now and then they'll come back and start acting real Black, and it might be temporary. Where it's almost like they're visiting their family. Like it's like you're visiting the hood, but you ain't really gonna stay there. Like who else would want to stay around Black people when white people have so much more money for you and trinkets and butter biscuits and all the other stuff. And here's the thing, I was thinking about like the word family, right? A lot of times when people are talking Black, they'll use the word family. Hey family, hey family, hey family. I'm sure Deion might have used that, the Jackson State family and stuff like that. And so here's my thought, right? So if the Black community is really your family, why is it that so many Black celebrities feel like they can only spend so much time like sort of with the Black community or involved in things that the Black community is doing? Like for example, building up an HBCU. Like why should that be a temporary job? And why can't it ever be a permanent job? Why must it always be a short-term dating situation as opposed to a long-term marriage? And it's because how much money does somebody have to pay you to get you to continuously abandon your own family, right? If that's your family, You should want to be there, and it shouldn't even be about the money no more. Like when I go see my mama, I'm not like, hey, mama, I'm going to hang out with you for a while, but they got money over here, so I'm going to see you next year. Like, I'm not going to do that, right? It's like you can't buy me away from my mother because being with my mother gives me something money cannot buy. And so I go back to this in terms of this belief. See, y'all got to be careful right now because you live in a capitalist society where money becomes king, even amongst religious people. Deion's super religious, but money's king here. God is not guiding this choice unless you connect God with money, right?
Well, he's saying God is guiding it. If you once again, I'm a reference that 9-minute video. He said God has pointed me in this direction. So now it's almost becoming oversaturated. I mean, I didn't say it like that, but
take that $5 million off the table and see what God tells him to do next. Come on, man. Stop that. Like that. No, stop bringing God into this. This is your bank account. I mean, I get it. Money, so I can understand. But if these two jobs paid the same amount of money, he'd be at Jackson State. Why would you want to go to pasty-ass Colorado when you could be right in the middle of the coolest place on the planet? So I think it's kind of like unfortunate because we've accepted this idea that we're always going to be inferior because white folks have most of the money. Like we're always, like you mentioned it earlier, like this idea that Deion could leave and go, you can go try it out at Colorado. If it don't work out, we'll take you back. We're always here. And this fits the consistent narrative of Black people always being taken for granted. We are always the last resort. We're always the place celebrities go to when things ain't working out elsewhere. Whenever they can't be anywhere else, they come back to the hood. When a celebrity gets in trouble and they have a problem and white folks want to cancel them, well, suddenly they start becoming pro-Black again. I'll get the Black community back. I'm gonna just tell y'all the truth. When I talk to Kanye West,
I do it.
Yeah, Kanye wanted me to get Black people to boycott Adidas. I said, why? Why? What are they ain't got no beef with Adidas, man. What have you done? How many checks have you written to help the community and all the money you spent? You spent $2 million on your daughter's birthday party. Did you ever write big checks to the Black community to make them feel like you've done enough to justify them boycotting Adidas? No. So, we're not going to do that just because you're famous. I don't care if you make records and all that. So my point is to say, that there are people that just take us for granted. And it bothers me, man. It bothers me. The Democratic Party takes Black people for granted. Well, we can shit all over Black people. They always gonna be there, though. We can always go right back to the hood because Black folks, they always gonna show up and support us no matter what we do to them. Y'all gotta stop that, man. You gotta stop that. You gotta have a standard. It's like dating. Like if a man knows he can always go back to that woman, then he's going to always be looking for another girl down the street. And he's going to come back to you as the fallback option whenever the woman he really wants don't want him no more. So maybe you have to have a point where you say, okay, all right, you can go if you want to, but once you walk out that door, don't come back in this door. This is a sacred space. You can't buy your way back in. I would actually understand if people, in Jackson State or other HBCUs just said, nah, man, we really want people like, if you're going to be in the SWAC, you got to really be SWAC. If you're not really SWAC, then we don't want you, right? You have to have that. In fact, that is a actual statistically proven cultural value that makes cultures successful. You have to have a pride in yourself that money cannot buy. Jewish people can't be bought in certain areas. There's certain things you cannot go buy. You can't, if they believe in ownership of something, or control of something, they're like, no, we don't care how big your check is. We're not going to sell it to you. Or even you look at businesses. If you go to Chinatown and open a Chinese restaurant, they will not buy from your restaurant, no matter how cheap the food is, no matter how good it is, no matter how much you discount it. They are not going to give you their money because you can't buy their loyalty. You can't. But yet we're the ones that are always saying that who we are and our loyalty is for sale. What do you have, Black people, that is not for sale? That's what I ask you. I'm gonna let you answer that question, Jeff, while I run to the bathroom. I'll make you full screen real quick. I'll be right.
Absolutely, yeah, go for it. And it's all pertinent. It all makes sense. It all matters because in the grand scheme of things, this is a beautiful opportunity, or was a beautiful opportunity for Deion Sanders to build something that honestly he will never be able to do at Colorado, at Florida State, at FSU, and that's continue to build a legacy. He's leaving a legacy, somewhat of a legacy, but it's like almost an incomplete legacy. even though he's promised to coach in the Celebration Bowl and all of these things. But you got to think about how the stuff got out. The stuff got out because he was working for JSU and he was recruiting the players that thought they were being recruited by Deion Sanders, the head coach of Jackson State. Instead, they were being recruited by Deion Sanders, the future head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. That's how the stories started to come out, because of the recruits. It came from the recruits because they were confused. They're like, hold on, well, you're at Jackson State, you're gonna be in Colorado, like, whoa, what's going on? And once you're recruiting, you're talking to multiple kids, and multiple kids have parents, mamas, grandmamas, whoever, friends, whatever, and they're like, hey, I'm getting recruited by CoachPrime, but it's not for Jackson State, it's for Colorado, and that's how the story got out. Here, but the CoachPrime had such an opportunity that I think is lost. I'm once again not taking away from nothing that he did, but the opportunity he had to really, really continue to build something special for everyone. Because what he was doing at Jackson State, his level of dominance and on the recruiting trail, the money that he was bringing into the city, all of that stuff, that was forcing the other schools, the other programs, the other institutions to level up. Okay, now we're playing catch up, right? Like now we know, like at one point, maybe we didn't know that it was possible to get a 5-star to come to our school, right? Because we didn't even talk to him. I mean, obviously we don't have the facilities that Alabama has. So obviously they're always going to gravitate towards the Alabama. But then he got one. And so then they started saying, hey, maybe we should start offering some 4 stars, some 5 stars. Because, yeah, some of them will go play at Jackson State, but some of them will want to go and beat Jackson State. Maybe we should schedule some visits, right? Because one thing that'll happen is, just like me today, when you visit these places, your mindset changes. It's like being introduced to powernomics as far as Black economics. Your whole mindset changes. You look at these places totally different, because I've been to campuses, I've been to college football games at the University of Alabama. I've been to college football games across this country. I've never seen anything like this, like ever. And they told me, if on a scale of 1 to 100, this was like a 75, like a 70. And I still had never seen nothing like this, like a 70, 75 range. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what and Prime said it himself. He said it happened to him when he showed up to a game as the coach, and it happened to Travis. And that's how Travis ended up at Jackson State. And so other players were starting to take these visits and feel the same way, and feel the exact same way. And not just about Jackson State, but also about FAMU, also about Grambling, also about Alcorn or wherever, because they were taking these different visits that they may have never taken in the first place. And so I wish I would have continued to see him build. But one thing I will say, though, this is a speed bump, but this is not a stop sign. This is not a red light. This is just a speed bump, because the damage has already been done and people have already been opening up. Deion Sanders, he'll never be irrelevant, but he won't be what he's been at Jackson State. ESPN ain't gonna be talking about him like they are now. He won't be leading, but he won't be getting game day to come to Boulder, more than likely. Not in 2 years, not in the first 2 years like he did at Jackson State. He won't get the attention. He won't be trending on Twitter and all those things like he has. He won't get the impressions. His name just won't ring the same bells that it is rung as the head coach of Jackson State and HBCU in the SWAC and building up this conference the way he has over the past 2 years.
Well, let me ask you.
Not in Boulder, Colorado. It won't.
Okay, so Jeff, I'll be curious, as a person who knows a lot about HBCU football and you follow it really closely and you're really on top of it. How do the other, how do you think other teams and other players on other teams and coaches on other teams feel about Deion leaving? I'm guessing that, especially when you had that one incident where the players were cussing him out and all that.
This is what they're doing.
So there's like a "I told you so," like
yeah,
get the hell out.
It's a combination. Well, let me not go that far, right? I'm gonna go that far. But Coach Dooley, who was the coach that he defeated today, and he's beat Coach Dooley 3 times in a row since he's been at Jackson, 2 times in championship games. And Coach Dooley is a competitive guy, and all the coaches are competitive. And he said the right thing at the podium, because they asked him, they're like, "Hey, Coach Dooley, what do you think about CoachPrime potentially taking this job at Colorado and stuff. He's like, yo, I hope he stays. Basically because I want to beat him. My guys want to beat him. We haven't beat him. I want to beat him. But I hope he stays. He helps the conference. But in all seriousness, they now feel like they have more of a legit shot to win now. The SWAC is now wide open. Whereas for the last 2 years, you could just say Jackson State and you didn't even have to see who the other team was. You're just going to check that box. You didn't even have to watch no film. You're just going to check that box. You didn't have to know anything about anything. If you saw Jackson State versus other HBCU, you were taking Jackson State and you won. Like, if you were a betting man, just take Jackson State, throw all the money on JSU. Whereas now the conference is a little more wide open. Now, and that's not to say the other schools, the Southerns, the Gramblins, the Prairie Views, whoever can't go out and still get high-level recruits. They just feel like they have more of a shot of winning the games as opposed to it being a foregone conclusion like it was today in the SWAC championship against Southern.
Okay. So it's like a sense of relief, really, I imagine, because it almost seemed like Prime was able to use his star power to recruit at a level that the other coaches had a hard time competing with. I remember I saw when he pulled in Travis Hunter, but I was thinking there's probably other good players,
absolutely,
that he was able to get that would normally not come to an HBCU. And okay, so let me ask you this. So,
I want to add to that though, and it's not just the on the field stuff. Prime, because he is such a magnetic figure, and he just has a resume that the other coaches can't compete with, being the athlete from an athletic perspective, he kind of took all the air out of a room. Meaning when he walked in and the other 11 coaches from the SWAC walked in, like everybody's got microphones in his face, right? Because he isn't a traditional coach. All of these other guys are traditional coaches, meaning they came up, they did it the hard way. They went the long route. They were assistant. They were general managers or graduate assistants, and then a position coach or just an assistant to the position coach, then a position coach, then a coordinator, then a head coach. Like they took the traditional coaching route, whereas Deion Sanders was a high school offensive coordinator and then became one of the most popular college football coaches in the world in a snap of a finger. Right. So it's like but it's because he was Deion Sanders. So you get that out and you're going to bring in more than likely. I don't know. This is me. More than likely, you're going to bring in another coach who was a lifelong coach, who was more of a traditional style coach. And that way, even if that guy can come in and have the exact same record that Deion Sanders has, and maybe even have the exact same recruiting success that Deion Sanders has, he's just not going to be Deion Sanders. He's not going to be the Hall of Famer. He's not going to be very brash and bravado. And that's another thing. Prime was very cocky. I mean, he was real cocky when it came to talking about playing these other teams. I mean, his whole thing was, we want to dominate. He said, we won last year, meaning they went undefeated in the conference. Now we want to beat every team by 30. All right. No other coach, every coach thinks like that, but nobody else is going to say that. Right. Like nobody else is going to come out to the media and be like, yeah, these teams shouldn't have even thought they had a chance of beating us. Now, that was fun for somebody in the media like me, but as an opposing coach, like an Eddie Robinson Jr., he didn't really care for that much. Or Connell Maynor at Alabama A&M, they didn't really care for that much.
Interesting. So maybe it almost sounds like the HBCUs, in terms of getting what they can out of this experience, maybe they can learn something from Prime's sort of non-traditional approach to coaching. Like, because a lot of the HBCUs can be on the conservative side. Like I know like Howard University, they're too scared to even have Dr. Claude Anderson come speak on campus. They never actually, so they, and I remember Cornell West even telling me that a lot of HBCUs, when he first got started, they didn't want to touch him because he was too black and all this other stuff. And I'm wondering if, because there's things you can learn in terms of Prime and his ability to bring in that entertainment value. Like he's kind of like the Money Mayweather of football. And that's what he did. That's what he carried, when he played for the Falcons and the Cowboys. And I remember, I don't know did you ever see the documentary from the, I think it was the 91 season, Too Legit to Quit, with MC Hammer on the sideline. Right. I know that probably sounds like ancient history to somebody your age, but that was like a big deal. That was, that's like, that's like LeBron having Drake, or not even LeBron, a younger player, another, Giannis. right, bringing Drake to the games like that really heightened the excitement, and made in the city of Atlanta was like on fire at that time, and Deion had a certain type of energy where I never really saw a guy like really like he would get the crowd pumped up before he would run a punt return back, and he would catch it and run it back for a touchdown. I thought that was awesome. I mean, he was so much fun to watch, and he's fun to watch as a coach. And I think that, and I want people to understand that as we critique him, we're not saying we don't like this guy. I think the disappointment comes from the fact that people like him so much.
So much, yes. Because you love him so much. It's like because how can someone disappoint you? You only suffer disappointment from something or someone that you hold in high value. You hold in high regard. If you think someone ain't shit, they can't disappoint you. You always thought they wasn't shit. Like, you can't disappoint me. If I thought you wasn't nothing, I've been thought you was a dirtbag. So of course, if you do something that I feel like is dirtbaggish, then of course you did it, because I always knew you were. But if I think you were a saint and you commit a sin and just using the biblical reference, then you get disappointed. It's not, you don't hate them, you don't wish bad upon them, you're just disappointed. That's all.
Right. Well, everybody, by the way, I'm speaking with Jeff Lightsy Jr. I'm gonna put Jeff's information up here. Jeff is from Ball Sports, and also what's your show in Louisville? What's your show called? Your radio show?
I have it's called the 35KY Sports Show. It's a talk radio show about Louisville sports. That's Louisville sports. But I'm on YouTube every day, the Victory Formation Sports Show, every single day, both on the Black Boss channel and on my YouTube channel, JeffLightsyJr.
Very cool. And also Jeff's Twitter and Instagram is right there. And also I want to ask everybody, if you could take a second, hit the thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. We're trying our best to build Black-owned media, and so we can really use your help. As you know, one thing Kanye was right about is the media is owned by a bunch of other people. We need to own some of that, so we can really use your help. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. We reach about 1 million Black people a week. We're very proud of that. We'd like to make that 2 or 3 million. So if you could hit that thumbs up, notification bell, we'd appreciate it. Also, we're on Spotify and Apple. And also a reminder, tomorrow, my wife, who is a therapist, she's going to, we're going to start a 4-week Black family wealth training where we're going to go in detail using the latest techniques in therapy and the latest techniques of finance to help you and your family figure out how to best position yourself to minimize the generational curses, to get along with each other, to work together, to build wealth. As either couples or with your children or with your parents or with your friends. So we start tomorrow. You can sign up at BoyceWatkins.com. Just go to BoyceWatkins.com and you can sign up now and get a discount. We start tomorrow night at 8 p.m. All the materials are yours for life. We want you to bring your whole family. So let me ask you this, Jeff. Do they have any other coaches out there whose names are kind of swirling around? I remember hearing Jerry Rice's name. Is Jerry one of the guys that they think might actually come in and replace Prime, or are there any names out there, or is it still
possibly? There's Jerry Rice. There's a guy at a school called Campbell in North Carolina. His name is Mike Minter. He played 10 years in the NFL, and his team actually played Jackson State this year. And they took they honestly, it was Jackson State's most competitive game this year. And he's built a really, really good program full of young Black athletes in the FCS that is really, really good, and took Jackson State. I mean, honestly, the biggest difference was Campbell had an okay quarterback, and Jackson State had Shador, which is really good, and Jackson State had a dominant defense, and they were able to win that 22-14. But Mike Minter is a name to look out for. And then also they've also thought about, from some of the names that are being thrown out there, some of those more non-traditional, lifelong coaches, but have great NFL pedigree, like Ed Reed and Ray Lewis are names that have been floated out there. Ed Reed was actually offered the Grambling job last year, and he turned it down. And Ed Reed has been in coaching for a while. He's been doing some coaching with the University of Miami, and Miami had just hired a new head coach, and Ed Reed wanted to be a part of the transition to the new head coach. That's why he turned down Grambling. But that's a name that's been floating around, that was floating around campus today. So it's going to be interesting, because this is this is a primetime job. Like, no pun intended. But this is like a really big like deal. Would be as if Alabama popped up as far as head coaching, or Kentucky basketball or something. Like, this is a job I think someone out there would leave their job to come be at. They to come be here. I think this has now become a prime job in the FCS HBCU space as far as across the country, because if you go hang out with those folks, yeah, you're gonna want to be here too, just like me.
Well, I got a question, man. I guess as one of the world's leaders in HBCU sports, and you follow it really closely, what does it take? Like, what's it going to take for HBCUs to get on the same footing as these big white schools? I mean, I know they have more money in the facilities and all that, but what's the gap? Like, why? Like, if Jackson State's dominating the SWAC, what's stopping Jackson State from being able to go in and play against some of the teams in the more traditional conferences, or in the stronger conferences, if you will?
Yeah, so part of it is the structure. HBCUs are like already behind the eight ball as far as playing against FBS teams. Those are the teams in the Power 5 conferences. Is because of the structure that they're in. Every single HBCU is in the FCS, which used to be like Division I AA, meaning they have only 63 scholarship players, as opposed to the FBS teams have 85 scholarship players. And so what that means is with 85 scholarships, not only do you have good starters, but you typically have good backups. That's the biggest difference, is those 22 extra scholarships. I mean, that's literally a starting offense and a starting defense, or a backup offense and a backup defense, right? So you just simply have more bodies, fresher bodies, stronger guys. And then, of course, it comes down to finances, resources, money, because kids love glitz and glamour. They love to know that they can go in and get 3 hot meals a day. They love to know that they're going to go into now the facilities, as far as luxury apartments at some of these places, where they're going to be sleeping at. HBCUs have an infrastructure problem. Like, kids, like even just basic regular students, don't always have places to stay with the influx of enrollment. I think I talked about this in our last live. With all the hoopla around HBCUs and the grandioso and people loving them so much, they had record numbers of enrollment this past fall. The problem that was a gift and a curse, though, because they couldn't house all the new students, right? So they had to literally get rates at hotels to house the students that they didn't have the infrastructure at their universities to house. But so people will see that and see that as a problem, which it is a problem. So you have to get your infrastructure ready. You have to get your facilities ready. You have to be ready to be able to do these things. And that comes with more support, and not just support from, the big corporations, right? Your alumni have to give back. You talked about those endowments at Colorado and these different places. Well, that comes from their alumni. That doesn't come from Walmart or PepsiCo or whatever. Those endowments come from their alumni saying, Colorado or whatever was so impactful to my life, I'm willing to give my money back to it, even though it already has a ton of money. The same has to be done at the HBCU level. You have to be able to say, Prairie View, Texas Southern, Grambling, or whatever was so impactful to my life, the ones that are capable, of course, that I'm willing to donate back to them. That way they can continue to impact the lives of the other students that came behind me. So that's what it's going to take.
Well, that's an interesting point you make. You were talking about donors and alumni. And one of the things Dr. Claude Anderson, who wrote Powernomics, was talking about is that HBCUs are always going to struggle financially, because if you're producing people that simply go out and want to go work for white people, you're not producing the business owners that are going to be able to come back and write those multi-million-dollar checks that are going to take you to the next level financially. If you look at, for example, you look at a Harvard or Yale that has they have an endowment that I believe is about 40 times larger than the endowment of every HBCU in America combined. They have billionaire tech founders who started companies, and they're worth $50, $100 billion. They're able to write, massive checks. But because they didn't just, Mark Zuckerberg didn't leave Harvard. He didn't graduate, but he didn't leave Harvard and go get a good job. He left Harvard and created Facebook. Bill Gates left Harvard and created Microsoft. And so ultimately, I think that there has to be a conversation about what kinds of are you producing the alums that can really write the kinds of checks that a university needs in order to go to the next level. Because I'm always fascinated, man, when you check out these schools and you see how much money the donors are writing, the size of the checks that they're writing, even mediocre ass schools, we have these donors like he made $10 billion in the oil industry, and now he's writing $10 million a year checks just for the football team or whatever. We don't really have any of that, and I think that we have to really start thinking about that economic infrastructure in terms of what does it really take to sustain an institution? What sort of sacrifices are required? I don't really know if that's even in the vocabulary, and I want to ask you this, I guess, in terms of just the financial side of sports. Okay, so even beyond the donors, what about just I know that they have the NIL deals out now where the players are able to make a little bread with their name, image, and likeness, which I think is awesome. Jackson State has been able to fill up stadiums. Every time they fill up a stadium, that's several $1 million in revenue. How much better have HBCUs gotten at simply monetizing just the coolness of HBCU games? I mean, they're getting more television coverage. So I'm sure there are TV deals being done. There's corporate sponsorship coming. There are stadiums filling up. But that's got to do something in terms of moving the needle in their ability to compete. Because I'm thinking if they have more resources, they can start recruiting the kinds of players that would let them go and get on the same playing field with an Alabama and not get killed. I don't know. What do you think?
No, and that is once again, we can't. That's why we can't deny the impact that Coach Deion Sanders was able to have since he's been at Jackson State. One of the really cool things that has happened with the SWAC, let's just use the SWAC, is they were able to cut a deal with Byron Allen's company, HBCU Go, and HBCU Go will technically pay the SWAC more money per year than schools at schools in that group of five, which is considered the group of five, not the Power Five, but the group of five, the next five conferences that are still FBS, but HBCU Go will pay the SWAC more money per year than 3 of the 5 schools in an FBS group of 5, right? So that came from the fact of the growing popularity. Right, that came from the fact that people are now more invested. A light was shined on by Deion Sanders, was shined on the HBCU sports, and then people found out like, yo, this is a lot more entertaining than I maybe thought. Or, yo, this is actually pretty cool. Like, these guys do things different, whether it's from the way the fan interaction or the freaking bands, the drum majors, the dancers, everything is, it's us. You know what I mean? Like, it's us. Like, everything we do is cool. So, of course, we are going to gravitate towards us. And that's what makes it so awesome. And so that is something that's happening. Like you said, the growing sponsorship list continues to grow. And the biggest thing is when it comes to money in sports, you got to get it goes beyond just the butts in the seats. It's about how many eyeballs you can get to watch you on television. That's where all the money comes from. The way the NBA makes a ton of money, the NFL makes a ton of money, the college basketball, college football, all the money comes from TV. It comes from how many eyeballs you can get to watch your product. That's why the NFL is king, because they get the most people to watch their product. For example, the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants football game on Thanksgiving had 42 million Americans watching it. Well, of course, people are going to pay a ton of money to get their products, their advertising in front of 42 million Americans, right? Because even if 10% go out and buy something from seeing that commercial, that's millions of people, like a whole lot of millions of people. Now, granted, that like HBCU football isn't going to do those numbers. Nothing is going to do those numbers. That's the NFL. But that's how advertisers decide whether they're going to pay the TV companies or pay these conferences a lot of money to broadcast their stuff. It's based on how many eyeballs they can get to actually watch the product.
Wow, man. Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you. I will say that I support Deion in his decision. I think that he can do whatever he wants to do. But I want to, help everybody understand at least another perspective to consider. I mean, give me a yes if you get what I'm saying. Look, you don't have to agree. I have a perception. I don't like the decision, but I don't know Deion's financial situation. I don't know what his goals are, and he has rights as a man to do what he wants to do. So give me a yes if it's okay, if we can all agree to disagree on some of this and be respectful about it, because it's not a matter of saying, okay, you're an idiot, this is terrible, or you're a bad person. It's really kind of saying, let's look at this from multiple points of view. So let me know if you get what I'm saying here, because I think it's really important for us to look at all sides of these decisions and not think of it as a one-dimensional choice. Like, okay, the most money's over here, this is where I'm going to go because the most money's over there. If you do that, then you become a slave to money. And I've explained to you guys a million times on this platform that money is powerful. Money can either it can either liberate you or it can turn you into a slave. And if you're always chasing the bag, then you are a slave to the bag. So what I would say to Deion, if we were talking, I respectfully say, look, okay, you serve God, but God always leads you toward the bag. It seems like, at least right now, so are you serving God or are you serving the bag? Which one is it, man? Which one is it? Because if I took away the bag and you're telling me God told you to go to Colorado, I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to say, come on, man. God don't want you at no damn Colorado. God has been to the HBCU tailgates, and God knows how lit that is. And he knows we are God's chosen people, not those pasty people in Colorado. No, it's just true, right? So anyway, let me stop being a butthole about this. But here's another thought I want to throw out. Actually, before as I do that, I want to let everybody know I'm talking to Jeff Lightsy Jr. from Boss Sports and the BlackBossChannel.com. It's a platform where Black men do all the talking. And so we have spaces for women, of course, but this is a space where Black men need to be heard. So if you believe in that philosophy, then please feel free to subscribe to the BlackBossChannel.com. And also make sure you hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share. Make sure you subscribe. Share this video if you can on your social media. That would really help us a lot. And give me a yes in the chat if you're willing to do that. Just take the video, share it, because we believe in intelligent conversation. So let me. I'm gonna make my last point, and then I'm gonna let Jeff get that last word. But I want to lay something out here. I asked y'all this question earlier. The HBC institutions grow because people invest in those institutions. Institutions grow because at some point somebody starts with nothing and then they build on nothingness and they build it into something nice. 200 years ago, Brigham Young, he could have stayed in the East in New York where all the money was or all the wealth was, but instead he packed a group of Mormons together and said, let's go west and let's go look for the Great Salt Lake. It was a sucker's move at the time. A lot of people thought it was stupid because you could have stayed nice and comfortable and had big money back in New York. But instead, he said, I'm going to go west because I want to build something new and I'm going to build it for my people. And for a while, he looked crazy because at least a third of those people died on their way out to find this Salt Lake. Well, they found the Salt Lake and there was nothing there. There was no jobs. There was not a McDonald's to go eat at. There was nothing there, nothing, absolutely nothing. And they built brick by brick. They planted some potatoes. They opened their little businesses. they did whatever they could, to survive. And next thing you know, they started building a little community. And just a few generations later, that community became Salt Lake City, which is one of the wealthiest cities on the planet. Salt Lake City has billions of dollars that you can't even count. They have so much money that the Wall Street Journal was stunned to see how many billions of dollars the Mormon church was basically hoarding that they weren't telling anybody about. Okay. So they're rich because somebody made a sacrifice. Somebody made an investment to develop those institutions. And now those institutions are powerful. So I need to ask you, as Black people in our community, what institutions are we investing in right now that are going to be worth billions of dollars to our children 2 or 3 generations from now? What institutions? You got all these celebrities, all these rappers bragging about how much money they got. Half of them ain't got nothing. You got all these athletes, getting on TV and doing their little thing, and white people, crowds of white people are cheering for them. Where are we building the institutions that are going to really make our community great? Or are we simply trying to go babysit institutions that are built and owned by others? With all these so-called wealthy athletes you got, wealthy entertainers you got, bragging about how much money they got, how come you don't own your own damn sports league? That's crazy to me. Black people spend $1.6 trillion a year. There are countries, entire countries. Saudi Arabia has 1/3 of the annual income that the black community has, and they got their own sports leagues. They have their own schools. They have their own institutions. Colombia has 1/4 of our annual income. They got their own sports leagues. We have a wealth level, an income level that matches the GDP of Russia. They got their own sports leagues. What do you have? You had the Negro Leagues. You threw that away because you want to be next to Jerry Jones and his old racist ass in the NFL. So let me just give y'all some data to kind of help you understand. This is for the visionaries in the room. Small-minded Negroes don't need to hear this conversation. This is above your pay grade. This is going to probably shock your brain and hurt your feelings. So I understand if you don't get it. But I'm talking to the visionaries. I'm talking to the people that believe in the greatness of blackness. I'm talking to people that believe that we can do anything we put our minds to. That's who I'm talking to. Give me a yes in the chat if you are in that category, if you want to be in that category, because I'm about to give you some game right quick and some information that you can take back to your family. Did you know that when I look up NFL teams, the Arizona Cardinals were purchased in 1932 for about $50,000. Right now, Jeff, how much do you think the Arizona Cardinals are worth in market value?
Easily, and this is just a ballpark estimate. The Broncos are just sold for 4.5, so I'm thinking hovering around 4 minimum, at least $4 billion.
The Broncos, the Arizona Cardinals, according to what I just found, they are one of the lower ranked NFL teams. Actually, they're number 30 out of 32. They are ranked $3.27 billion.
And that's just an estimate. But when a team goes for sale, the bidding jacks it up. So like the Broncos, they weren't ranked at 4.5. They were probably ranked closer to like 3.5. But once these teams go up for sale, it drives the price up, and they end up being sold for $4.5 billion.
Yep. You are 100% correct. You're right. When the team goes up for sale, that's when you find out what the team's really worth. Up until that point, it's just speculation. And so really, we could go down the list. If you look up you could Google search the original purchase price of various NFL teams, and you'll find crazy stuff like the Green Bay Packers were purchased for $50. Did you know that, Jeff?
I didn't.
The Green Bay Packers were purchased for $50. Right now, the Green Bay Packers, if I'm not mistaken, are a publicly traded company where the whole community, mostly white, owns this team. This team, according to this estimate here, is worth about $4.25 billion. Their market value went up about 61% in the last couple of years. Their annual income is about $500 million. That's their annual revenue. Excuse me. Their annual revenue is $500 million. I could keep going. So my point is to say, man, come on, have some damn vision. 100 years is not a long time. So some of y'all have grandparents that were born 100 years ago that died just a few years ago that lived past the year 2000. So this is not. It's not like we're waiting several hundred years for this to happen. This NFL teams were very valuable within one generation because somebody made a sacrifice. Somebody created something, man. So I could go down the list. The Chicago Bears were purchased for $100 in 1920. Now the Chicago Bears are worth $5.8 billion. The Buffalo Bills were purchased in 1959. Somebody made a sacrifice of $25,000 to buy the Buffalo Bills. Now the Buffalo Bills are worth $3.4 billion. I can keep going. The Oakland Raiders were purchased by Mark Davis in 1966, not that long ago. 1966, Mark Davis bought the Oakland Raiders for $25,000. Right now, the Oakland Raiders are worth what are they worth? Let me see. Hold on. They are worth they're not the Oakland Raiders, actually. They're the Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Raiders are worth $5 billion. $5 billion. 1966 ain't that long ago. 25 grand turns into $5 billion because all they had that you are not necessarily trained to have is they just had a little vision and they were willing to make a sacrifice. So I say this because when I see Jackson State, I don't see a university is worth a few $1 million. I see a potential multi-billion-dollar entity that could reach that level if we all were willing to invest in it on whatever it takes, or a sports league. I don't understand why we haven't started a sports league. We're probably 1 million times more money than the people that started the NFL had when they started the NFL. They just said, okay, we want to create something. We want to own it, and we're going to control this. What do you own and control in terms of institutions that are yours, that you're pouring into, that are going to be worth billions of dollars for your grandkids? Ask yourself that question. That's the last thing I'm going to leave y'all with. Jeff, I'll let you get the last word.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Doc, as always, thank you for having me on. I just want to say that I just would love to see, whether it's at Jackson State or any other HBCU or any other Black entity, just someone, like you said, to sacrifice the dollar or the potential dollars that they can make to continue to build something special. One of the last thing, and I'll leave on this, that one of the most disappointing things about the Deion Sanders thing is that no matter what he does at Colorado or wherever, he will never leave the legacy and the impact that he would have been able to leave, and quite honestly, still is leaving even after 2 short years, but potentially after 5 years or 10 years if he would have stayed at Jackson State. I mean, you have to see this place. They were going on a Lightsy supernova trajectory, meaning I don't know if they would have ever been able to level up and go to the FBS and be like in Alabama, but damn it, it felt like it. It felt like they were headed that direction. And that's not to say that it can't still happen. I just hope that the next iteration of a Deion Sanders or whoever that next person is that is going to, because it's going to happen. Someone else is going to come to one of these spots. Maybe it's not Jackson State, but they're going to come to one of these HBCUs and have a similar style impact. I just hope that they're able to stay longer and see it all the way through and give up a few dollars on the back end to leave a legacy that's unmatched and that will continue to push our culture forward in a way that we've never seen. And that's the way I saw it happening with Jackson State. And that's not to say the next coach can't do it, but whoever that next supernova is to come touch these HBCUs, to just see it all the way through. That's my only request.
Right on, right on. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. Jeff Lightsy Jr. From Ball Sports. This is his Instagram and Twitter. Everybody go follow Jeff, and you can go debate with him on social media. He will debate. And he's in it. He's in it for our people. Jeff ain't going. Jeff is not going to announce that he's leaving his HBCU beat to go to Colorado.
Not at all. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Not in the slightest. I said this is my first time at Jackson. It won't be the last.
Okay, all right. I love it. I love it. And by the way, if you can hit the thumbs up button on your way out, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell. I'm going to check in with you guys tomorrow. And if you want to understand issues related to Black family wealth, my wife and I start our Black family wealth masterclasses 4 weeks. It starts tomorrow. You can actually get a discount if you go to BoyceWatkins.com. Our goal is to take our new Black financial therapy department in the Black Business School. It's the first ever created anywhere that is designed to look at the psychological barriers that keep us from building wealth in our families. So if you'd like to join us, just go to BoyceWatkins.com. You can still sign up. And also, last but not least, if you want to get your kids something good for Christmas that will help them learn some of these wealth principles that we talk about on this platform, you can go to financialflashcards.com and get a flashcard set. They make great gifts, and also it is a gift that will last a lifetime, because we have to make sure that Black people are the most economically intelligent, most financially literate people on the entire planet. I ain't scared of no Jewish people. I've taught Jewish people, and I know what they know, but they don't know what we know. And I believe that we are the chosen people in so many ways. And so you got everything you need right in front of you. So let's all go out here and be great. I will check with you guys later. Thank you again, Jeff. It was real, brother. And everybody have a good evening. We'll see you soon. Peace.